there, culture vulture. So you're thinking about diving into the world of cultural visitor services managers.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. We're going to break down exactly what this job is all about using some awesome insights we got from RoleCatcher.
It's really
It's
interesting.
like the career matchmakers, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to look at what it takes to excel in this role and what makes this career path so fascinating.
You know, it's funny, like, when people think about museums or historical sites, they often just picture like artifacts, you know, those grand halls.
Oh,
But you know what really makes these places special
what?
is the visitor's experience.
Oh, interesting.
That's where our cultural visitor services managers come in. They are the architects
Wow.
of engagement, the storytellers, the ones who connect people to culture.
I love that. I love that phrasing, architects of engagement. So it's not just
Yeah.
like making the exhibits look pretty, it's about shaping the whole experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it this way. Imagine you're walking into a museum and you see a dinosaur skeleton.
Okay.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine they have interactive displays where you can learn about paleontology,
Oh, wow.
touch some replica fossils,
Very cool.
maybe even try a virtual dig.
That'd be awesome.
That's what a skilled cultural visitor services manager can do. They can take something static and turn it into a dynamic, multi-sensory learning experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And I have to say, I went to the American Museum of Natural History a while back,
Okay.
and they had this exhibit on ocean life. They use these crazy video projections to make you feel like you're swimming with whales.
Wow.
It was breathtaking. It's amazing how technology changes the game, you know?
It really does.
Yeah.
And actually, RoleCatcher highlights that.
Really?
Museums are using more and more things like virtual reality and augmented reality
Oh, wow.
to create these immersive experiences.
Yeah.
Like, take the Franklin Institute in Philly. Have you heard of that one?
I have, yeah.
They've used VR to let visitors experience what it's like to walk on the moon.
Whoa.
How cool is that?
That's very cool.
It's all about finding new and exciting ways to bring culture to life.
Walking on the moon, huh?
Yeah.
That's wild. It really makes you think about how much creativity goes into this field, you know?
It does. And that's something RoleCatcher really emphasizes in their guide.
Oh, cool.
You know, it's not just about having a deep knowledge of history or art,
Yeah.
although that's definitely valuable.
Right.
It's about being a strategic thinker, a creative problem solver, someone who's adaptable to these new technologies, and someone who can engage with really diverse audiences.
So it sounds like you need to have a good head on your shoulders just as much as a passion for culture, right?
Exactly. Remember, we're talking about crafting these meaningful experiences for visitors.
Right.
That takes understanding their motivations, their interests, even what might frustrate them.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher mentioned some cool techniques like ethnographic observation.
Ethnographic observation, what is that?
So that's where you actually observe visitor behavior
Yeah.
in a museum.
Oh, interesting.
And sentiment analysis, too.
Okay.
That involves looking at online reviews and what people are saying on social media to get a sense of the public perception.
That's fascinating. I never thought about, like, watching how people interact with the exhibits as a research method.
Right.
It's like being a cultural anthropologist.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this career path so interesting. You know,
Yeah.
it blends creativity, research, understanding of human behavior.
Right.
But of course, there are challenges too.
Yeah, for sure.
RoleCatcher's upfront about that.
Yeah. They did mention some of the tougher parts, like the
Yeah.
irregular hours,
Dealing with difficult visitors,
visitors.
even some job instability in certain
Yeah,
sectors.
that's for sure.
It's not all, you know, museum galas and fancy openings.
No, definitely not.
It's important to be realistic. You know, like any job, there'll be long days, demanding projects.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to wrangle a rogue school group or two.
Those are the worst.
But RoleCatcher also talks about the really rewarding parts too.
Which are?
You're preserving cultural heritage, sparking curiosity in others, making a real difference in how people see the world.
It's that feeling of connecting with something, like, bigger than yourself.
Yes.
You know? When you stand in front of a masterpiece and feel awe, or when you learn something new that totally changes your perspective,
Exactly.
those are powerful moments.
Yeah, and being able to give those moments to other people, that's the real magic of being a cultural visitor services manager.
I love that.
But how do you actually get started on this path? Well, RoleCatcher outlines a trajectory.
So you're ready to, like, trade in the street shoes for some museum loafers and get started on this career path. What did RoleCatcher say about the trajectory?
Well, they laid out a pretty clear progression.
Okay.
You'd probably start as like an entry-level assistant,
Right.
maybe in a specific department, like education or collections.
Makes sense.
And then as you get more experience, you could become a coordinator,
Uh-huh.
take on more responsibility for designing and running programs.
Okay.
And then from there, you could even move into a managerial role,
Wow.
overseeing a whole department or even
Wow.
a bunch of different sites.
So it's like leveling up in a video game. You get experience, unlock new skills,
Right.
and then you become the ultimate museum boss. But what does that actually look like, in the real world?
So RoleCatcher gives this great example.
Okay.
They talk about this coordinator who started out by just helping with basic stuff like cataloging artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
But then they really impressed everyone with their research skills.
Oh, cool.
They dug into the museum's archives,
Nice.
found all these fascinating stories,
Yeah.
and then they used those discoveries to create really engaging exhibits and educational programs.
That's awesome.
And that's the kind of initiative and passion that gets you noticed.
Totally. It's like that saying, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly.
Got to be ready to go for it.
Yeah, and that's where that knowledge and learning section in RoleCatcher's Guide is super helpful.
Oh,
We
right.
talk about how this field is always changing.
Right.
New technology pops up. Research brings new perspectives. What visitors want changes,
For sure.
So you've got to keep learning. It's essential.
It's like they say, once you stop learning, you start dying, or at least your career might.
Uh-huh.
But seriously, it's great that RoleCatcher gives you ways to stay ahead of the curve, like those industry associations and publications they recommend.
It's like having a roadmap and a toolkit all in one.
I like that.
And they even give you advice on interview prep, which is so important.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Knowing how to talk about your skills and your passion
Yeah.
in a way that museum directors really connect with.
Definitely. And speaking of connecting, there's one more thing I wanted to bring up, the FAQs. They answer some really interesting questions in there, like how to get good visitor feedback.
Oh, that's so important in this job.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher makes it clear it's not just about those comment cards,
Right.
although those can be helpful.
Yeah.
It's about understanding what really gets visitors engaged, what they remember, what they take away from their experience. So they suggest things like, surveys after the visit, focus groups, even looking at what people are saying on social media.
Wow. Interesting.
It's about really understanding your audience.
It's like being a cultural detective. This has been really eye-opening.
Yeah.
What started as just like looking at one job title turned into this whole journey
Right.
through the world of museums and cultural institutions. It's amazing.
It is cool how much there is to it.
Yay.
And like any good journey, it leaves us with some questions.
Yeah. Right.
We've been talking about what a cultural visitor services manager does now, but what about the future?
Ooh, good question. What will this job be like as technology gets even better?
Yeah.
Will virtual experiences become more common?
Mm-hmm.
How will museums make things accessible and inclusive for everyone?
It's fascinating to think about. Are we going towards this hybrid future where the physical and digital kind of blend together?
It's like, will museums be able to tailor the experience to each person's interests?
It's possible.
And how can we make sure everyone, no matter who they are or what their background is, gets to connect with culture in a meaningful way?
These are the challenges and the amazing opportunities that are out there for cultural visitor services managers. It's a field with so much potential, always changing, and it needs passionate people who are ready to shape how we experience and interact with the world around us.
So to everyone listening, think about what sparks your curiosity. What kind of cultural experiences do you dream of creating? Check out those resources RoleCatcher put together. Reach out to people working in the field and follow your passion.
You never know, you might just become the next cultural trailblazer.
That's right. Until next time, happy exploring, everyone.